that winning lottery ticket, the one you dream of holding, is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of law. For too long you have spoken to the universe as a beggar, hoping for a crumb of fortune to fall from the table. You have treated your desire as a distant, improbable dream, something that happens to other people. But what if I told you that you are not a beggar, but a king, and that your words are not pleas, but decrees? That the universe does not respond to your hopes, but only to your commands? In the next hour, I will not teach you how to be luckier. I will hand you the science of creation itself. I will teach you how to speak in the language that reality understands, a language of command, of assumption, of absolute conviction. I will show you how to issue a decree so clear, so powerful, that circumstances have no choice but to bend to your will. Do not turn away. Do not dismiss this. The life of freedom you desire is separated from you by nothing more than a few correctly spoken words. Listen and learn how to speak them. My dear friends, I invite you to set aside for this next hour everything you have been taught about chance, luck, and fortune. I am asking you to perform a sacred and courageous act to willingly suspend your belief in the world of accident. Forget the gospel of randomness that has been preached to you from the cradle. Forget the cold, hard facts that have served as the bars of your prison. We are here tonight not to hope for a miracle, but to command one. We are here to discuss a law as real and as impersonal as the law of gravity, a law that governs not the fall of an apple, but the rise of a king. I will speak to you tonight about a specific, tangible desire, the desire for a great sum of money, which we will symbolize by the lottery win. But I must be perfectly clear, as we embark on this journey together, this is not truly about winning the lottery. The lottery is merely our classroom. It is the symbol. We will use the most extreme example of what the world calls chance to explore the most profound secret of creation. That secret is this: your word, saturated with the feeling of belief, is the one and only instrument that shapes your reality. By learning to consciously create the most random of events, you will prove to yourself beyond all doubt that nothing is random. The very desire you hold in your heart for abundance, for the freedom that wealth can bring, for the life that a lottery win would symbolize, this desire was not born of your own volition. Do not mistake it for a simple, greedy whim. It is a promise. It is a summons from the God within you, the creative power of the universe, which is your own wonderful human imagination. This desire is the voice of your deeper self, showing you a potential reality, a state of being that is already yours for the claiming. The very moment you truly conceive the desire, the seed of its fulfillment was planted within the fertile soil of your inner world. Your task, therefore, is not to struggle in the outer world to make it happen. Your task is not to run from store to store, buying tickets with a feeling of desperate hope. That is the way of the world, the way of the man who believes he is a victim of odds. Your task is to remain still and to learn how to tend to the seed that is already planted within you. You must learn to water it daily, not with sweat or with struggle, but with the living water of your spoken and felt word. For your words are not empty vibrations, my friend. They are not harmless sounds that dissipate into the air. They are creative forces. They are living things charged with the divine energy of your belief. When you speak, you are not simply talking. You are creating. You are issuing a decree to the universe. You are giving a command to the only power that can act. So, listen closely. The hour has come to let go of the beggar's plea and the gambler's hope. Tonight, you will learn to speak as a creator. You will learn to claim what is already your inheritance. Let us first dismantle the architecture of your bondage. You live in a world that worships the god of chance. From the scientist who speaks of random mutations to the economist who speaks of market volatility, To the neighbor who speaks of good luck and bad breaks, you are immersed in a philosophy of powerlessness. You are taught that you are a small boat on a vast chaotic ocean, and your only hope is to paddle furiously and pray that a favorable wind might find you. This belief system is the most subtle and effective prison ever devised, for its bars are invisible, and its jailer is your own reason. Your reason looks at the world and sees only chaos. It sees billionaires and bankrupts, the healthy and the sick, the lucky and the unlucky. And it concludes that there is no discernible law, only the brutal roll of the cosmic dice. But I tell you, there is a law, a divine and perfect order that underlies all things. The world is not chaotic. It is magnificently, flawlessly ordered. The confusion arises because you have been taught to look for the cause in the world of effects. You are trying to understand the film by analyzing the screen. You must look to the projector, and that projector is your own consciousness. The life you are experiencing is a perfect printout of your own deepest, most cherished assumption. You are not lucky or unlucky. You are the embodiment of what you assume yourself to be. If you walk through this world, assuming the state of a man to whom good fortune is a rare and fleeting visitor, then the universe, in its infinite loyalty to you, will stage a world where good fortune is indeed rare and fleeting. It has no choice. It must be true to your inner decree. This brings us to the two fundamental voices with which a man can speak to the universe: the voice of the beggar and the voice of the king. For most of your life, you have spoken with the voice of the beggar. The beggar stands outside the gates of his desire and pleads. His entire consciousness is focused on the gate, on the separation between himself and his good. His prayer, whether spoken aloud or in the silence of his heart, is a litany of lack. Please give me help, he cries, a perfect affirmation of his present state of sickness. I need more money, he begs, powerfully instructing his subconscious mind to create more of the experience of needing. The beggar operates from the feeling of absence. His words are hollow because they are not backed by the currency of faith, which is the feeling of possession. He hopes, he wishes, he yearns, all of which are beautiful prayers for the continuation of hoping, wishing, and yearning. Now consider the voice of the king. The king does not stand outside the gates. He knows that the entire kingdom is his own. He does not plead, he decrees. He does not hope for a thing to come to pass. He announces that it is already so. His word is law, not because of the volume with which it is spoken, but because of the authority of the state from which it is spoken. The king is not trying to acquire something he does not have. He is simply exercising his dominion over that which is already his. When you learn to speak with this voice, your entire world transforms. You stop asking, "When will my lottery win come?" And you begin to declare, from the royal chamber of your own still mind, "I am so grateful that my magnificent win is a present and accomplished fact." You are not lying to yourself. You are telling the deepest truth, that all things exist now in imagination, and by assuming the state of its reality, you are commanding it to come forth into the world of shadows. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a great treasury filled with infinite riches. Two men stand before its massive golden door. The first man, the beggar, pounds on the door. He shouts, "Please let me in. I am poor. I am desperate. I deserve some of this treasure." He lists all the reasons why he should be allowed entry. He waits, he hopes, he despairs. The door remains shut. The second man, the king, approaches the same door. He does not pound on it. He does not shout. He feels no desperation, for he knows the treasury is his own. He turns to the door, and with a quiet, calm authority that comes from absolute knowing, he simply says, "Open." And the great door swings wide, for it recognizes the voice of its master. You are both of these men, and you have until now been playing the part of the beggar. Tonight is the summons for you to remember your royalty. It is the call to drop the begging bowl and pick up the scepter, and that scepter is your own spoken and felt word. Over the course of this masterclass, I will teach you the grammar of this royal language. I will show you the exact mechanics of how the creative word operates. We will explore how to speak from the fulfilled state, how to use your inner hearing as the secret door of creation, and how to maintain your royal assumption in the face of a world that still reflects your old state as a beggar. We will learn the discipline of detachment and the supreme power of gratitude, which is the seal upon every royal decree. This is the summons to create. It is a call to awaken from the dream that you are a victim and to remember that you are a creator. Your desire for the lottery win is the bugle call announcing that the time for your coronation is at hand. It is the universe inviting you to step into a larger, more abundant, more powerful version of yourself. So, let us begin. Let the beggar in you fall silent. Let his pleas and his worries fade into the nothingness from which they came. And let the King, the Creator, the I Am that you truly are, learn to speak. My dear friends, in our introduction, we cast aside the comfortable illusion of a world governed by chance, and I summoned you to the awareness of your own creative power. Now, we must learn to wield that power. We must learn the anatomy, the science, and the art of the one and only tool of creation you will ever need, the Word. I must ask you once again to unlearn. The world has taught you that words are for description. You use them to report on the facts of your life, to narrate the story of your past, to discuss the circumstances that surround you. The world uses words as a reporter, beautifully transcribing the events of a reality it believes to be external and independent. But I am here to teach you the language of the Creator. The Creator does not use words to describe His world. He uses His word to decree His world into existence. The language of God is not descriptive, it is creative. It does not report on what is, it commands what shall be. And that divine creative language is not a foreign tongue you must learn. It is the language you are speaking every single moment of your day, mostly unconsciously. Our great work together is to make you a conscious speaker of this creative tongue. Let us first understand the anatomy of a truly creative word. It is not the sound that gives it power, nor the eloquence with which it is delivered. A creative word is a living thing, a spiritual vessel carrying three essential elements: substance, state, and authority. The substance of your word is consciousness. When you speak, you are not merely vibrating the air. You are taking the unformed, infinite substance of your own awareness and giving it form. Your word is a mold, and your consciousness is the living clay that is poured into it. This is why your words are never empty. They are always filled with the substance of who you are. This brings us to the second element, the state. The creative potential of your word is determined entirely by the state of consciousness from which it is spoken. A state, as we have learned, is your dwelling place in consciousness, the sum total of your beliefs and feelings. A word spoken from a state of fear is a seed planted in sand. It may have the form of a desire, but it is born of a consciousness that denies its fulfillment. A word spoken from a state of unwavering faith, however, is a seed planted in the most fertile soil imaginable. This is why the same affirmation can be spoken by two different men with dramatically different results. One man repeats, "I am wealthy," while his entire being is saturated with the feeling of lack. His words are hollow, a dead letter, because they are not born of a corresponding state. Another man speaks the same words, "I am wealthy," but he speaks them from an inner conviction, from a state he has consciously cultivated in his imagination. His words are alive. They are charged with the creative energy of his state. and they must bring forth a harvest after their own kind. The final and most crucial element is authority. The power of your word is directly proportional to the authority from which you speak it. For centuries, you have been taught to see yourself as a humble servant, a mortal subject to the whims of a distant God. And so you have spoken with the weak, wavering voice of a servant. But I tell you the truth of your being. You are not the servant in the house of God. You are the son. You are the heir. The creative power of the Father, which is your own I amness, is not outside of you. It is you. Therefore, when you speak your word, you must not speak as one asking for permission. You must speak from the authority of your true identity. When you declare your good, you are not petitioning a reluctant deity. You are simply exercising your divine birthright. You are speaking as the operant power in your world. These three elements, substance, state, and authority, are what transform a simple sound into a creative command, a one that shapes reality. Now, where are these living words planted? They are planted in the only field of creation there is, your subconscious mind. Think of your subconscious as a vast, fertile, and utterly impersonal soil. It is the womb of creation. It does not judge what you plant. It does not question your seeds. It has no preferences. Its one and only function is to accept the seeds you give it and to bring them forth into the visible world faithfully and without alteration. It will grow weeds with the same impersonal efficiency as it will grow a magnificent harvest. It simply obeys the nature of the seed. Your conscious mind is the sower. Your words, charged with the feeling of your state, are the seed. Most of humanity is sowing unconsciously. They walk through their days scattering seeds of doubt, worry, complaint, and fear with their idle words and their habitual inner conversations. And then they stand in amazement before the harvest of lack, struggle, and misfortune in their lives, never realizing that they themselves are the faithful farmers who cultivated it. Let me tell you a story of two sailors. Both were captains of their own magnificent vessel, but both found themselves in a vast ocean becalmed, with no wind in their sails. The first sailor, a man of the world, looked at the lifeless sails and the still water and began to complain. He cursed his luck. He spoke to his crew of their hopeless situation. His inner conversations were a litany of despair, and his subconscious mind, the great and impersonal ocean, heard his decree of stillness and hopelessness and faithfully gave him more of it. The sea remained like glass around him. The second sailor was a student of this law. He too saw the motionless sails and the still water, but he did not accept the report of his senses as final. He knew that the wind was not an external force to be hoped for, but an inner power to be commanded. He went into his cabin, and in his imagination he began to speak the creative word. He did not plead for the wind. He began to feel it. He felt the ship leaning. He heard the creak of the masts and the snap of the sails filling with a great gust. He spoke inwardly, "I am so grateful for this powerful, favorable wind." He assumed the state of a man in motion. He persisted in this inner conversation, in this feeling, this assumption, and then a strange thing happened. A small ripple appeared on the water. A flag began to flutter, and soon a steady and powerful wind filled his sails, and his ship moved swiftly toward its destination. Was the wind a separate, external force, or was it the outer world conforming to the command issued from the captain's inner state? You are that captain. Your subconscious is that great impersonal sea. Do not curse the lack of wind. Go into the cabin of your own still mind and command the wind to blow. This is the process. The word born of your state is the blueprint. Repetition is the act of impressing that blueprint firmly upon the subconscious creator. You are not repeating your desire to convince an external God You are repeating it to convince yourself, to make the new state so natural, so dominant, that it becomes your new dwelling place. Every time you declare, the lottery win is already mine, you are not just speaking empty words. You are laying another brick in an invisible temple of belief. With each repetition, you are strengthening the foundation, reinforcing the wall. Soon the structure becomes so complete in the unseen realm that the world of shadows has no choice but to reflect its magnificent image back to you. This reveals the immense danger of your idle words. Because the law is impartial, it works just as powerfully with your negative decrees. When you say, even in jest, I'm always broke, you have just picked up your divine wand and commanded poverty into being. You have planted a seed of lack, and the subconscious, your faithful servant, must bring it to harvest. When you complain to a friend, nothing ever works out for me, you have just delivered a powerful sermon to the Creator within, a sermon on the glory of failure. Do you see the gravity of this? You are a creator, and a creator is never not creating. Your silence may be fallow, but your words are always seeds. This is why the ancient teachers admonished us to guard our tongue. But I tell you, it is even more important to guard your inner conversations, for they are the words spoken in the very presence of God. Therefore, you must now become a conscious creator. You must become deliberate in your speech. When you declare, the lottery win is already mine, you are not merely hoping for chance to favor you. You are announcing a fact to the creative law. You are instructing the unseen to arrange the necessary channels, the perfect timing, the bridge of incidents, to deliver what you have already claimed as yours. Your part is to formulate the decree. How it will be fulfilled is not your concern. The creative intelligence within you has ways and means you know not of. It may come through a ticket you buy, a gift from a stranger, an unexpected inheritance. The how is the domain of the master builder, not the architect. To concern yourself with the how is to introduce doubt, to claim that your limited rational mind knows better than the infinite. So you must speak your word and then let it be. Persist in your assumption, yes, but do not dictate the method of its fulfillment. Speak your decree with the authority of the king, who knows his command will be carried out even if he does not understand the intricate movements of his entire kingdom. Your word is your wand. Most of your life, you have been waving it about unconsciously, creating a chaotic and often unwanted reality. Now, you must pick it up with intention, hold it with reverence, point it directly at your desire and speak, not with hope, but with knowing. Speak life into your desires, and watch with awe as reality itself bends in obedience to your command. My dear friends, in our last chapter, we established a foundational truth. Your word is your wand. We learned that the words you speak, both inwardly and outwardly, are not idle sounds, but are creative seeds planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. But a seed, no matter how perfect, requires the correct soil and climate to germinate. A word, no matter how beautifully articulated, requires a specific inner condition to have any creative power whatsoever. We now arrive at the great secret that animates the word, that gives it life, and that makes it law in your world. It is the art and science of speaking from the end. I must tell you a truth that may be difficult to accept, for it will challenge the very foundation of your lifelong approach to prayer, to desire, and to God. The words you speak do not, in themselves, create. They are vessels. They are conduits. They derive their power entirely from the state of consciousness from which they are spoken. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to the consciousness that gives them birth. This is why the prayers of millions go unanswered. This is why affirmations are repeated to the point of exhaustion with no discernible result. The cause of all failure in conscious creation lies in this one simple error. You are speaking for something instead of speaking from the state of being it. Let us return to our analogy of the beggar and the king. The beggar stands outside the palace gate and uses his words to describe his poverty, his need, his longing. His every word, though it may be a plea for riches, is saturated with the feeling, the consciousness of not having. He is a perfect and faithful creator of more lack. The king, however, stands within the palace. He is already in the state of dominion. When he speaks, his words are not pleas. They are observations of his reality. He does not need to convince anyone of his royalty. His every word is naturally infused with the authority of his state. You, in this very moment, are one of these two. You are either speaking from the consciousness of your desire, being a distant hope, or you are speaking from the consciousness of it being a present, accomplished fact. There is no middle ground, and your world is, and always will be, the perfect reflection of the state you have chosen. This is the great inversion of truth that you must now master. You do not speak words to achieve a state. You must first achieve the state, and then the words you speak will be created. The destination is the starting point. What do I mean by the end? The end is not a future event that you are waiting for. The end is the state of consciousness that you would occupy if your desire were already a physical reality. It is the feeling, the mood, the entire inner atmosphere of the wish fulfilled. To get to your desire in the outer world, you must first go to the end in your inner world. You do not travel to the state. You travel from the state. So how does one occupy the end? This is not an act of pretending or self-deception. It is a disciplined act of creation, an art of occupancy. It begins with a mental diet. You must, with absolute vigilance, refuse to entertain any thought, any feeling, or any inner conversation that contradicts the reality of your wish fulfilled. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot spend 5 minutes a day assuming you are wealthy and 23 hours a day worrying about bills. The dominant state will always win. You must be willing to starve the old state of lack by withdrawing your attention from it. Once you have committed to this mental diet, you then perform the sacred act of embodying the new state. You do this through a full sensory imaginal experience. Let us return to our classroom. The lottery win. To speak from the end of having won, you must first, in your imagination, live through the experience. Close your eyes for a moment. What would you see the moment after your win was confirmed? Do not see the lottery numbers being drawn. That is the process, not the end. See what you would see afterwards. Perhaps you are looking at a bank statement with a staggering balance. See the numbers clearly. See the name of your bank. What would you hear? Not the television announcer, but your dearest friend or partner on the telephone, their voice trembling with joy, shouting, "I can't believe it. We actually did it." Hear their specific voice, their specific words. What would you touch? What would you feel with your spiritual hands? Perhaps it is the cool, smooth metal of the keys to a new car you have just paid for in cash. Perhaps it is the satisfyingly heavy legal document of a mortgage paid in full. Feel the texture, the weight, the reality of it. What would you smell or taste? The celebratory champagne, the salt air of a tropical vacation you are now able to take? You must construct this short, simple scene and make it so real, so vivid, so saturated with sensory detail that it takes on the tones of reality. But the most important element is the central feeling. What is the dominant feeling of the wish fulfilled? Is it excitement? Perhaps for a moment. But the deeper, more lasting feeling is one of relief, a profound, peaceful, joyous relief. The struggle is over. The search is finished. You have arrived. This feeling of naturalness and relief is the feeling your subconscious mind accepts as fact. It is not a high-pitched, desperate emotion. It is a calm, deep, and abiding knowing. Let me tell you the story of an aspiring author I once knew. She had a magnificent manuscript, but it had been rejected by every publisher she had sent it to. She was living in the state of the rejected writer. Her inner conversations were filled with disappointment and envy. Her words to her friends were of struggle. She learned this law. She stopped talking about her rejection. She went on a strict mental diet, and every night she practiced speaking from the end. She did not imagine herself writing. She did not imagine herself getting an acceptance letter. She went to the absolute end. In her imagination, she would stand in a bookstore. She would walk to the bestseller shelf and see her book with her name on the cover. She would pick it up. She felt the weight of it in her hands. She smelled the scent of the paper and ink. She read the glowing reviews printed on the back. And she felt a quiet, profound wave of satisfaction wash over her. Not excitement, satisfaction, the feeling of it is done. She lived in this scene night after night. She walked through her days feeling not like a rejected writer, but like a celebrated author whose book was simply on its way to the stores. Her entire inner atmosphere changed. Then, the bridge of incidents appeared. An old friend from college, with whom she had lost touch, contacted her out of the blue. This friend had become a literary agent. They had lunch. The author, speaking now from her new state of confidence, mentioned her book. The agent asked to read it. 2 months later, the book was sold in a major deal to a prominent publisher. 6 months after that, the author walked into a bookstore and enacted in the world of shadows the exact scene she had first created in the workshop of God. Did she get lucky? No. She obeyed a law. She stopped speaking for success and started speaking from the state of success. This brings us to the inevitable question of the time lag. You may assume your new state with perfection, and yet, when you open your eyes, the world of Caesar still seems to be reflecting the old reality. This is the great test of faith. You must understand that the physical world is a delayed reflection. It is like a massive ship. When the captain turns the wheel, the ship does not turn instantly. It takes time for the great vessel to respond to its new course. For a while, it continues to travel in the old direction. A foolish captain would see this, panic, and turn the wheel back, thinking his command was not heard. But a wise captain holds the wheel steady in the new direction, knowing that the ship, by its very nature, must eventually answer his command. Your imaginal act is the turning of the wheel. The world is the ship. Do not panic when it does not turn instantly. Hold your assumption steady. Remain in the fulfilled state. Know that the machinery of creation is in motion, and the ship of your world must answer your new course. And once you are truly living in the end, your spoken words change. You no longer need to force affirmations. Your outer speech becomes an effortless, natural echo of your inner knowing. When a friend asks how you are, you will find yourself saying, everything is wonderful, not as a performance, but because from the state you are inhabiting, it truly is. Your words become authentic confirmations of your inner reality. You are speaking from wealth, not for it. You are speaking from health, not for it. You are speaking from victory, not for it. This is the art of speaking from the end. It is to mentally occupy the state of your wish fulfilled so completely that your entire being resonates with its truth. Then and only then, your words become your want. They are no longer wishes sent out into the void. They are decrees spoken from the throne of the finished creation, commanding the world of shadows to conform. My dear friends, we have learned that your word spoken from the state of the wish fulfilled is a creative command. But now I must reveal to you a deeper truth, a more subtle and yet infinitely more powerful application of this law. There is a secret door within you. a gateway not built of brick or stone, but of consciousness itself. It is your inner hearing, the silent faculty, through which all true and lasting creation unfolds. Your physical ears are attuned to the world of Caesar, the world of effects. They hear the noisy reports of your current circumstances, the opinions of others, the constant static of a world lost in the dream of limitation. But there is another ear, the ear of your imagination, which hears the voice of creation itself. When you learn to listen with this inner ear and to speak into it with intention, you awaken the hidden power that shapes your reality from within. Let this be stated with absolute clarity. The world you experience externally is nothing more than a perfect, moment-by-moment projection of your inner conversations. Every dialogue you hold within yourself, every silent argument, every whispered hope, every muttered fear, imprints itself directly upon your subconscious mind. This subconscious, as we have learned, is the faithful womb of creation. It does not judge, it does not question, it does not debate. Its nature is to accept what it repeatedly hears with feeling as true, and to begin, immediately and impartially, to mold your outer circumstances into the likeness of that inner speech. This is the key to understanding your life. If you wish to know why your world is as it is, you need only listen honestly to the conversations you are having with yourself when no one else is around. That is the sermon you are constantly preaching to the God within you. And that God, your own awareness, is a faithful congregant who believes every word you say and proceeds to make it so. Most of humanity, without knowing it, uses this divine power against themselves. They have become masters of unconscious sabotage. Their mind is a courtroom where they are simultaneously the prosecutor, the defendant, and the judge, constantly rehearsing cases for their own limitation. They allow inner conversations of doubt, worry, fear, and failure to dominate their mental atmosphere. In the silence of their own mind, they speak lovingly of lack. They rehearse disappointment with such vivid detail that it becomes a cherished companion. They practice losing the race before they've even taken the first step. They hold imaginary conversations with their boss where they are overlooked, with their partner where they are misunderstood, with their bank where they are in default. And because the subconscious mind makes no distinction between that which is vividly imagined and that which is physically experienced, it accepts these internal rehearsals as fact. And the external world, being only a mirror, has no choice but to oblige by staging these very conditions. You see, you have been praying without ceasing your entire life. The only question is, what have you been praying for? But you, who now understand this secret, are called to take command of this inner hearing. You are called to become the master of your own inner dialogue. You must deliberately, consciously, and lovingly fill your mind with victorious conversation. Now, I must tell you a profound mystery. Inner hearing is superior to outer speech. You may stand before a mirror and shout affirmations 1,000 times. But if your inner conversation, your silent whisper, contradicts your spoken word, the inner word will always win. The subconscious is not impressed by the volume of your voice. It is impressed by the conviction of your feeling. And your most natural habitual feelings are revealed in your silent inner speech. The outer word can be a performance, a mask you wear for the world. But the inner conversation is your true prayer. It is the private diary entry that the creative power reads as your most honest and sincere desire. Therefore, if you wish to change your world, you must first change the script of your inner drama. So, how does one practice this art? First, you must learn the practice of stillness. You cannot hear the new, victorious conversation if your mind is constantly filled with the noise of the outer world and the static of your old habitual thoughts. You must find moments in your day to be still. This is not about emptying your mind. It is about providing a quiet stage upon which you can consciously perform your new desired conversation. Second, You must formulate your victorious conversation. This is not just a single affirmation. It is a short, loving conversational loop that implies the wish is fulfilled. For our classroom, the lottery win, what conversation would you have the moment after you claimed your prize? Perhaps you would hear the voice of your dearest loved one saying, with breathless joy, I knew you could do it. I am so incredibly happy for us. And you would hear yourself reply, not with shock, but with a quiet, calm satisfaction. It feels completely natural, doesn't it? As though it was always meant to be. This short loop contains everything. It contains the confirmation, the joy, the presence of love, and most importantly, the feeling of naturalness. This feeling of naturalness is the tone that convinces the subconscious mind. Third, you use what I call the lullaby method. As you are drifting off to sleep, in that sacred state akin to sleep, you play this inner conversation over and over again. You hear the voices. You feel the emotions. You let this victorious dialogue be the last thing your consciousness grasps as it sinks into the deep. You are singing a lullaby of success to your subconscious mind, and it will dream your song into reality. Let me tell you the story of a man who was a public speaker, a man of great intellect, but he was paralyzed by a terrible stage fright. His inner conversations were a constant torment. For weeks before any engagement, he would hear, on repeat, the inner voices of his critics. He would imagine himself forgetting his lines, hearing the audience whisper and cough with boredom, feeling the flush of shame. He was, in essence, using the divine power of inner hearing to meticulously plan his own failure. He learned this law. He understood that he had to change the inner soundtrack. He stopped fighting the thoughts of fear. Instead, he began to construct a new inner conversation. Every night, for 1 month before his next speech, he practiced the lullaby method. He did not imagine himself giving the speech. He went to the end. He imagined the moment after the speech was over. He constructed a simple loop. He heard the sound of 1,000 people rising to their feet in a thunderous, sustained standing ovation. He felt the warmth of the stage lights on his face, and he heard the voice of his wife, who was always in the front row, whispering in his mind's ear, "Darling, that was the most magnificent speech I have ever heard." He looped this scene, the sound, the feeling, the words over and over again until he fell asleep in the reality of his triumph. On the day of the speech, he told me something remarkable. The old thoughts of fear were still there, but they were like the distant sound of traffic. The dominant sound in his mind was the roar of the applause he had been hearing for 30 nights. He walked on stage, not as a man hoping to do well, but as a man who had already succeeded. He delivered his speech with a power and a confidence he had never known. And when he spoke his final word, the entire auditorium rose to its feet in a thunderous, sustained standing ovation. The outer world had perfectly conformed to the dominant vibration of his inner world. This is the law of resonance. Your dominant inner conversation sets your vibrational frequency. And the universe, which is a great field of resonance, has no choice but to bring into your experience people, conditions, and events that perfectly match that frequency. You do not get what you want, you get what you are. And what you are is determined by the conversations you are having with yourself. So I charge you now to become the master of your inner world. In the quiet moments of your day before sleep, upon waking, during idle hours, turn to your inner sanctuary. Whisper your desire as an accomplished fact. Hear the sounds of congratulations. Feel the emotions of victory. Let your inner hearing be alive and saturated with the certainty of fulfillment. When doubt and fear from the outer world arise, and they will, return immediately to your inner sanctuary. Cancel every thought that contradicts your desire. Replace it instantly with your victorious declaration. You are not fighting reality. You are simply reasserting your creative authority over the only reality that matters. Remember always, the subconscious accepts as true that which it continually hears with feeling. The outer world is merely the canvas upon which your inner hearing paints its masterpiece. Guard your inner conversations as you would guard the most precious treasure in the world, for they are the seeds of your tomorrow. This is the secret door. Walk through it daily, and the infinite riches of the unseen will pour into your life, not as a miracle, but as a law. My dear friends, this principle of inner hearing is a turning point. It is the moment you move from being a passive listener to the world's noise to becoming the active speaker in your own creative universe. If this truth resonates within you, if you feel the stirring of your own divine authority, then I invite you to make a commitment to this journey of mastery. Take a moment now to subscribe to this channel. Let it be your anchor, a constant reminder of the creative power that you are. By subscribing, you declare that you are ready to continue this profound work. Now, let us proceed to the discipline that forges this inner knowing into an unbreakable reality. My dear friends, we have traveled deep into the sacred mechanics of creation. You have learned that your word is your wand, and you have learned that this wand is only charged with power when you speak from the end, from the fulfilled state. You have even learned to master the secret door of your inner hearing, planting the seeds of your desire in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind. Now, we must speak of the furnace. We must speak of the crucible, where the seed is tested, where the Creator is forged. For once the seed is planted, it does not instantly become a mighty tree. It must pass through a season of darkness, a season of unseen growth, and your ability to navigate this sacred interval will determine whether you harvest a magnificent reality or a field of abandoned dreams. This interval is governed by two twin disciplines, two principles that may seem like opposites, but are in truth two sides of the same golden coin. They are persistent assumption and divine detachment. Master these, and you become the unwavering creator. Let us first speak of the law of solidification, which is the law of persistent assumption. Reality, as you experience it, is simply a persistent assumption made visible. Your current life is the physical embodiment of the things you have consistently assumed to be true about yourself and the world. It is not the result of your fleeting wishes, but of your deep, abiding convictions. Think of your consciousness as water. A passing thought is like vapor, formless and fleeting. A repeated thought, an idea you entertain, is like liquid water. It has substance but no fixed form. But a persistent assumption, an idea that you occupy and live in day after day, is like ice. It becomes solid. It becomes a fact in your world. The law of repeated assumption is the simple, absolute law that which you consistently assume to be true becomes your experience. Therefore, when you have used your imagination to enter the state of your wish fulfilled, your work is not over. It has just begun in a new way. You must now persist in that assumption. You must take up residence in your new psychological home and refuse to be evicted by the boisterous claims of your old reality. Every day you declare, the lottery win is already mine. You are not just speaking words. You are laying another brick in a mental structure, an invisible temple of belief that reality must one day reflect. With each repetition in feeling, you strengthen the foundation, you reinforce the walls, you complete the roof. The structure becomes so complete and sturdy in the unseen realm that the world, being only a mirror, has no choice but to reflect its magnificent image back to you. Persistence is the master key. It is the steady, loving, unwavering pressure that carves a new channel into the rock of consciousness. The first time you assume your new state, you are creating a small trickle. The old riverbed of your former beliefs is still deep and powerful. But as you persist, day after day, hour after hour, returning to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that trickle becomes a stream, then a river, And soon the entire force of your creative power flows through this new channel, and the old riverbed runs dry. This is why so many falter. They perform a beautiful imaginal act, feel a momentary thrill, and then open their eyes and are immediately hypnotized once again by the evidence of their senses. Their bank account is still the same. The winning numbers have not been announced. And they allow this report from the world of shadows to shake their assumption. They abandon their glorious new temple and move back into the familiar shack of their old limitations. You must now enter the great test, the war between faith and fact. But know this, faith is not a battle against reality. Faith is the substance of the one and only reality. The facts of your outer world are merely the lagging, fading residue of old faith, old assumptions. You are not fighting what is real. You are simply refusing to give any more of your life-giving attention to that which is old and dying. Let me tell you the story of a great inventor. This man held in his mind, in his imagination, the perfect blueprint for a machine that would revolutionize the world. He knew with an inner certainty that it was possible. He assumed the state of the successful inventor. He began his work. He built his first prototype, and it failed spectacularly. His senses, those faithful spies of the old world, reported back failure. His investors, who also lived by the senses, reported back doubt. The newspapers reported folly. What did the inventor do? He did not argue with the facts. He did not deny that the prototype had failed. He simply refused to change his assumption. The blueprint in his mind was more real to him than the pile of twisted metal in his workshop. He was loyal to the unseen, not the seen. He persisted. He built another prototype. It also failed, but in a new way. He learned something. He persisted. He built a third and a fourth. For years his workshop was a theater of what the world called failure. But in his mind, it was a laboratory of discovery. He was not a man failing. He was a creator refining the physical form to match his perfect, unwavering inner vision. And then one day, it worked. The machine hummed to life perfectly, just as he had always known it would. The world called it a miracle, a stroke of genius. But it was not. It was the inevitable result of a persistent assumption held firm against a mountain of contradictory evidence. He had won the war between faith and fact. This brings us to the second of our twin disciplines, divine detachment. As you persist in your assumption, you must simultaneously cultivate the art of detachment. This may sound like a paradox. How can one persist and detach at the same time? But it is in this divine paradox that true mastery lies. Detachment is not indifference. It is not caring whether your desire manifests. It is the complete release of all anxiety concerning the how and the when. It is the quiet confidence of the master creator who knows that the law is perfect and cannot fail. It is a state of profound trust. Let me give you another analogy. Imagine a master archer. Her great work is done before she ever releases the arrow. It is in the grounding of her stance, the focus of her eye, the steady drawing of the bowstring, the perfect aim. This is your persistent assumption. This is the work you do in the secret place of your own imagination. But once she releases the arrow, what does she do? Does she run after it, trying to steer it in midair? Does she scream at it to fly straighter? Does she worry about the wind? No. To do so would be absurd and futile. She releases it, and then she stands in a state of calm detachment, trusting that the immutable laws of physics will carry the arrow to its target. Her work is done. She has released it to the law. Your imaginal act, your persistent assumption, is the aiming and drawing of the bow. The moment you have truly felt the reality of your wish fulfilled, you have released the arrow. You must then let it go. You must trust the infallible law of consciousness to carry it to its destination, to worry about it, to check for signs constantly, to try and manipulate the outer world to help it along. This is the act of a novice archer who does not trust the law. This detachment liberates you. You are freed from the terrible burden of having to figure it all out. You are freed from the emotional roller coaster of a life lived by sight. You no longer react to temporary appearances because you know they are not the power. They are shadows in motion. You hold your inner vision steady, affirming daily, the lottery win is already mine, regardless of what the world of Caesar reports today. This is how you live in two worlds at once, which is the secret of the Master. With your physical body, you walk through the world of Caesar. You answer the phone, you pay the bills as they currently are, you go to your job, you play the part that your current reality demands of you. But in your imagination where you truly live, you are the king in his palace. You are an actor playing a temporary role in an old play, all the while knowing that you have already been cast as the lead in a magnificent new production that is about to open. You do not fight the old reality. You simply rob it of its power by withdrawing your creative attention from it. And a state of consciousness that is not fed by your attention must wither and die. As you persist in this dual discipline, your assumption becomes so natural, so self-evident, that you no longer question its reality. It feels as though it has always been true. The feeling of neediness vanishes, the anxiety disappears, and then, without effort, the world shifts. That is when you know the seed has become a sprout and is about to break the surface. So I charge you now to become this unwavering creator. When you declare your lottery win, know that your only remaining work is to persist in that assumption and detach from the outcome. Live in the calm, joyous knowing that what you have done in imagination is a finished fact. Do not be moved by the shadows. The physical world will catch up. It must. It is the law. My dear friends, we have stood together in the high chambers of the mind. We have learned that our word is our wand, that we must speak from the end, that our inner hearing is the secret door, and that we must remain unwavering in our assumption, detached from the world of shadows. You have now been given the disciplines of the Creator, the mental steel required to hold a vision steady in a world of flux. But creation is not a battle. It is not an act of grim, joyless determination. The final act of the Master is not one of force, but of grace. It is the final, loving touch that transforms a blueprint into a living, breathing reality. This final act, this master key that seals your assumption and makes its manifestation inevitable, is the art and science of gratitude. Let us, as always, begin by unlearning. The world has taught you a shallow and reactive form of gratitude. It has taught you that gratitude is a polite thank you that you say after you have received something. It is a response to an effect. It is a courtesy, a social grace, but in the world's teaching, it has no creative power. It is the caboose at the end of the train, not the engine that pulls it. But I am here to tell you that this is a pale shadow of the truth. Creative gratitude is not a reaction to a manifestation. It is the very cause of the manifestation. It is not the end of the process. It is the power that completes and perfects the process. When you give thanks for your lottery win, as though it has already occurred, you are not fooling yourself. You are aligning yourself with the deepest truth of creation. You are speaking to your subconscious mind in the only language it truly understands, the language of completion. Gratitude is the language of possession. Think on that. The feeling of want, of need, of longing, these are the languages of lack. And your subconscious, your faithful servant, is a perfect linguist. If you speak to it in the language of lack, it will build for you a world of more lack. But when you speak to it in the language of possession, the language of gratitude, it hears the command that the desire is a finished, accomplished fact. Gratitude declares with a quiet and unshakable certainty, it is done. It says to the unseen world, there is nothing left to desire, for the desire is already fulfilled. In this state, you release the terrible tension of wanting, of striving, of hoping. You no longer reach forward anxiously for your good, but you rest calmly in the deep satisfaction of already having received it. This state of inner satisfaction is the fertile soil in which your manifestations will blossom effortlessly and naturally. Let us explore the metaphysics of this. Why is gratitude so powerful? First, gratitude is the ultimate signal of acceptance. Your subconscious mind operates on the principle of acceptance. Whatever you accept as true, it must objectify as a condition of your world. You can try to accept something intellectually, but the subconscious is not moved by the arguments of your mind. It is moved by the convictions of your heart. Genuine gratitude is the feeling of a conviction that has been completely and totally accepted. To be truly grateful for your lottery win is to have fully accepted its reality within your being. Second, gratitude aligns your vibrational state. Your dominant feeling state is your point of attraction in this world. It is the resonant frequency you are constantly broadcasting to the universe. A state of doubt, fear, and lack is a low, contracted, chaotic frequency. A state of joy, peace, and abundance is a high, expanded, harmonious frequency. Gratitude is the purest and most direct way to tune your entire being to the frequency of your fulfilled desire. You cease to be a radio tuned to a station of static and lack, and you become a clear broadcast of fulfillment. The universe, which is a great field of resonance, must then bring to you experiences that match your new song. And third, gratitude is the great dissolver of doubt. You cannot in the same moment feel sincere gratitude for your success and simultaneously doubt that you will succeed. The two states are mutually exclusive. They cannot occupy the same mental space. The world teaches you to fight your doubts, to argue with your fears, but this only gives them more energy. Gratitude does not fight doubt. It simply replaces it. It fills the house of your mind with so much light that the shadows of fear find no place to hide. To live in thankfulness is to make your mind an inhospitable environment for all negativity. But we must distinguish between the two forms of gratitude, the beggar's thanks and the king's thanksgiving. The beggar's thanks is a form of bargaining. He says, oh, thank you in advance for what I hope you will give me. If you give me this, I will be so grateful. This is still a prayer born of lack. It is a transaction. It carries the energy of hope, not the energy of knowing. The king's thanksgiving is an act of acknowledgement. The king stands in his treasury, surrounded by his riches, and gives thanks for that which is. His gratitude is not a tool to get something. It is the natural, overflowing expression of his state of possession. This is the gratitude you must cultivate. You must, in your imagination, stand in the treasury of your fulfilled desire, and from that place you give thanks. Let us make this intensely practical. We return to our classroom, the lottery win. You have practiced your inner hearing. You have persisted in your assumption. Now you must seal it with gratitude. Go to that quiet place within. Enter the state akin to sleep. Construct your scene of the wish fulfilled. But this time, do not just observe it. Do not just feel it. Enter it with the specific intention of giving thanks. Imagine the scene is over. The win is confirmed. The initial shock has passed, and you are left with a profound, life-altering sense of peace and security. Now, from that feeling, begin to speak your words of thanks. Whisper them inwardly. Let them well up from the very depths of your soul. Thank you. Thank you for this magnificent win. Thank you for this life-changing abundance that is now mine. I am so deeply, profoundly grateful that this wealth has come to me with such ease and in such a perfect way. Thank you for the freedom it provides. for the joy I can now share with my loved ones, for the security that fills my days. Do not just say the words, feel them. Let the emotion of gratitude wash over you. Let it fill every cell of your being. Linger in this state of thanksgiving. Savor it. This feeling, this anointing of fulfillment, is the final impregnation of the subconscious mind. It is the royal seal upon your creative act. Let me tell you the story of a woman who was suffering from a painful and persistent ailment. Doctors had given her little hope. She had tried every method of prayer she knew, pleading with God for a healing. But her condition only worsened, for her prayers were a constant affirmation of her sickness. She learned this law of gratitude. She stopped pleading. She realized her work was not to beg for a healing, but to give thanks for the perfect health that was already hers as a divine inheritance. Every night, instead of cataloging her pain, she would ignore the reports of her body and enter a state of profound gratitude for her wholeness. She would feel her body as vibrant, strong, and suffused with divine energy. And she would whisper over and over, "Thank you, Father, for my perfect health." She did not see it as a future event. She was giving thanks for a present fact in consciousness. She persisted in this feeling, and a remarkable thing happened. She did not experience a sudden, dramatic miracle. Instead, she began to notice small shifts, a little less pain one day, a little more energy the next. The bridge of incidence was appearing in the form of her body's own natural intelligence, responding to her new state. Within a few months, all symptoms of her ailment had vanished. The doctors were baffled, but she was not, for she knew she had not been healed by an external power. She had simply allowed her physical form to catch up to the perfect state she had claimed and sealed with gratitude. This is the ultimate state of being, to live in a state of perpetual thanksgiving. You do not reserve gratitude for the big manifestations. You make it the very atmosphere of your mind. You become grateful for the breath in your lungs, for the chair that supports you, for the gift of consciousness itself. A person who lives in this state of grace becomes a magnet for more and more things to be grateful for. The universe loves a grateful heart and will rush to bring it more experiences that match its joyful, accepting state. Gratitude, therefore, is not merely the end of the creative process. It is the power that completes it, and the state that sustains a beautiful life. It transforms desire into certainty, hope into possession, and thought into form. In gratitude, you declare to yourself, to your subconscious, and to the entire universe, it is done. Therefore, give thanks daily. Live in the joy of certainty that your lottery win is already yours. And as surely as the night turns into day, your reality will unfold to reflect the truth you have so faithfully and gratefully affirmed. My dear friends, our journey together through the architecture of reality is drawing to its close. But I must tell you, this is not an ending. It is a commencement. It is the moment of your coronation. Let us for a moment stand upon the summit we have reached and look back at the path we have traveled. We began by unmasking the great illusion, by shattering the chains of the senses and declaring our independence from the tyranny of facts. We then stepped into the light of our own being and recognized the one and only creative power, our own wonderful human imagination, and learned that our word, our conscious decree, is its creative wand. We journeyed deeper into the heart of creation itself, discovering that the great secret is not in thinking, but in feeling from the end. We learned the sacred art of occupying the fulfilled state, of using the gateway of sleep to impress our new reality upon the faithful creative power of the subconscious. We then uncovered the most subtle and potent form of creation, the divine dialogue of our own inner hearing, realizing that our silent inner conversations are the true prayers that shape our world. We forged our spirit in the crucible of faith, learning the twin disciplines of persistent assumption and divine detachment, the art of holding our vision steady against the storms of a contradictory world. And finally, we anointed our creation with the most beautiful of all feelings, the royal seal of gratitude, understanding that to give thanks for a reality, yet unseen, is the highest expression of faith and the very language of possession. Look at this journey. The person who began this masterclass with me is not the person who is hearing these final words. That person came perhaps as a seeker, a student, a hopeful wisher. But you who have traveled this path with an open heart now stand as an initiate, as a knower, as a creator. You have been given the keys to the kingdom. And now we must speak of that kingdom. We must speak of your true inheritance. Throughout our time together, we have used the lottery win as our classroom, a tangible symbol for the manifestation of a great good. But I must reveal to you now the final, ultimate truth of this teaching. The lottery win is not your inheritance. The money, the cars, the houses, the things of this world, these are not the prize. They are but the shadows, the reflections, the delightful but temporary trinkets that belong to the King. Your true inheritance, the treasure that can never be lost or taken away, is the realization of who you truly are. Your inheritance is the conscious awareness of your own creative power. It is the awakening to the fact that you are the operant power in your world. It is the unshakable indwelling knowledge that you are not a creature of circumstance, but the creator of circumstance. This is the inheritance. The lottery win is merely one of the first acts you will perform to prove your royalty to yourself. Let me tell you a parable. There was once a prince, the only son of a great and powerful king. But as a child, he was stolen away from the palace and left in a distant village, where he was raised by a poor family who did not know his lineage. He grew up as a pauper. He believed himself to be poor, unlucky, and subject to the whims of the world. He would stand outside the walls of the great capital city, his own kingdom, and beg for scraps. He would look upon the palace, his own home, with a sense of longing and hopelessness, never dreaming that all of it belonged to him. Then one day, a wise old minister of the king, who had been searching for years, found the boy. He did not give the boy a purse of gold. To do so would have only been a temporary relief. Instead, he took the boy aside and told him the truth of his birth. He whispered in his ear, "You are not a beggar. You are the king's son. All of this is yours." At first, the boy could not believe it. The habit of being a pauper was too strong. The evidence of his senses, his ragged clothes, his empty pockets screamed that it was a lie. But the wise man persisted, teaching the boy how to think and act like the prince he truly was. He taught him to stop begging and start commanding. His first command was small. He learned to imagine the feeling of a full meal, and soon a stranger would offer him bread. He learned to assume the feeling of having a warm coat, and a merchant would gift him one. These were his lottery wins, the small proofs. With each manifestation, his conviction grew. He was not just a pauper getting lucky. He was a prince learning to wield his innate power. Finally, the day came when he no longer needed small proofs. He had so fully assumed the consciousness of the prince that he simply walked to the palace gates. He did not plead for entry. He did not hope for recognition. He walked with the quiet, unshakable authority of the one who belongs, and the gods who had turned him away 100 times before now looked upon him, and seeing not a beggar but a king, they threw open the gates and bowed. He had claimed his inheritance. You are that prince. This teaching is the wise minister whispering the truth of your royal lineage. The lottery win, the specific desires you hold, these are your first experiments in command. Do not mistake them for the kingdom. They are merely the exercises that awaken you to your own royalty. Your true inheritance is the throne itself, the throne of conscious creation. And with this royal inheritance comes a great responsibility. This power is not a toy. It is not a tool for selfish gain or the manipulation of others. It is a sacred trust. As you have learned, everyone in your world is yourself pushed out. They are playing the parts that your own consciousness has assigned them. Therefore, you have a divine responsibility to hold only the highest and most loving assumptions for every person you encounter. Your commission is to use this power wisely and lovingly, to not just manifest a win for yourself, but to live in such a state of grace and abundance that your very presence is a blessing to the world. The greatest use of this law is not to get more, but to be more, so that you may have more to give. When you see lack in your world, you will no longer condemn it or fight it. You will know that it is a reflection of a former state within yourself, and your work is to revise it, to imagine lovingly for the person or condition that appears to be in need. You will bless them in your imagination, and they will be blessed. This is the life of a true master. And so, what is the path forward? How does one live this new life, this royal life, day by day? You live it through a new joyful discipline. Every morning, upon waking, your first act is a decree. Before the world has a chance to remind you of who you were, you must announce to the universe who you are. Stand before the mirror and claim your inheritance anew. I am the operant power in my world. My consciousness is the only reality. Today, I walk in the state of my wish fulfilled. Throughout your day, you practice a divine watchfulness. You stand guard at the gates of your mind. You observe your inner conversations. If you find yourself rehearsing the old dramas of lack or fear, you do not condemn yourself. You simply gently and firmly change the inner script. You return to the triumphant conversation of the wish fulfilled. And every evening your final act is to enter the Sabbath. You lay down your head not as the man or woman of Caesar who has struggled through a day, but as the Creator who has already finished his work. You enter your imaginal scene. You feel the reality of your fulfilled desire, and you seal it with the most powerful of all creative forces, gratitude. You give thanks for the magnificent reality you have called forth. This is not a chore. This is the joyful ritual of a king tending to his kingdom. Let me leave you with one final parable. A visitor once came to the studio of a great sculptor and saw a magnificent statue of a lion, powerful and perfect in every detail, carved from a single massive block of marble. The visitor asked the sculptor, "How did you ever create such a perfect lion from that shapeless stone?" The sculptor smiled and replied, "I did not create the lion. The lion was always there. I simply chipped away everything that was not the lion. You are that sculptor, and you are that marble. The magnificent, abundant, joyful, and powerful being you desire to be is already present within you in its entirety. It is not something you must build. It is something you must reveal." The teachings of this master class are the chisels. Your daily practice is the hammer, and your work is to lovingly chip away everything that is not your true royal self. The doubts, the fears, the old assumptions, the belief in limitation. Go forth now. The journey of study is over. The journey of living begins. You are not leaving here with a set of interesting ideas. You are leaving here with your own scepter, the scepter of your creative word. You are leaving as a king, returning from exile, ready to claim your throne. Do not hope, know. Do not wish, decree. Do not wait for your world to change. Command it to change by the divine authority of your own assumed state. This is not the end of our conversation. It is an invitation to a new way of life. The journey of mastery is a daily one. To continue to walk this path, to be reminded of your royal identity, and to join a community of conscious creators, I commission you now to subscribe to this channel. Let it be your daily reminder of the king you have always been. Go now and claim your inheritance.